Welcome to the Real Crime Diary, Daily Dose of Crime. I'm your host, MHB. What happens when a seemingly simple missing person case turns into a national headline? Today, we dive into the shocking disappearance and murder of Quentin Simon, a case that left investigators baffled and a community in disbelief. Get ready for a story of deception, betrayal, and a mother's unthinkable actions. On October 5th, 2022, a quiet morning in Savannah, Georgia turned into a nightmare when Leilani Simon called 911 to report her 20-month-old son, Quentin Simon, missing. She told the dispatcher that their front door was open and she believed Quentin had been abducted. This set off a frantic search that would captivate the nation for weeks. As investigators combed through every lead, the community held out hope for Quentin's safe return. But on November 18th, that hope was shattered. Quentin's remains were discovered, bringing a tragic end to the search, but opening up a whole new chapter in this heartbreaking story. Prosecutors believe that Leilani Simon herself was responsible for her son's death. They allege that on the morning of October 5th, she assaulted Quentin with an unknown object before disposing of his body in a dumpster near their home. This shocking turn of events left many wondering how a mother could commit such an unthinkable act against her own child. As the investigation into Quentin's disappearance unfolded, law enforcement left no stone unturned. FBI Special Agent Robert Corley, an expert in cellular analysis, meticulously combed through phone records of Leilani Simon and others involved in the case. Using advanced techniques like timing advance measurements, Corley was able to pinpoint the locations of phones during critical periods. This cellular data painted a damning picture, corroborating earlier findings by Special Agent Taylor Burns. It placed Leilani's phone at key locations that contradicted her initial story. But cell phone data was just the beginning. FBI Special Agent Brad Snyder and Detective Lemons conducted a series of interviews with Leilani. Her demeanor during these interviews was described as inconsistent, particularly when pressed on uncomfortable topics. As the questioning intensified, Leilani's story began to unravel. Initially, she claimed she had made a trip to get Oragel, but as investigators dug deeper, this story morphed into something far more sinister, a trip to throw away trash. This seemingly innocuous change would prove to be a crucial turning point in the case. Then came the bombshell. Surveillance footage from a neighboring business captured a vehicle resembling Leilani's car driving into Azalea Mobile Home Plaza at 1:17 a.m. on the night in question. The car stopped near the dumpsters for about 2 minutes before leaving the park. This footage, combined with the cell phone data, painted a chilling picture of Leilani's movements on that fateful night. As we piece together these testimonies, we're left with a chilling portrait of a household where a young child's well-being was seemingly disregarded. The question now is, how will these testimonies impact the jury's decision? As the evidence unfolded in court, a disturbing pattern emerged, painting a picture of deceit and inconsistency surrounding Leilani Simon's actions. Let's dive into the key pieces of evidence that led investigators to connect the dots in this tragic case. First, we have the surveillance footage. A neighboring business captured video of a vehicle resembling Simon's car entering Azalea Mobile Home Plaza at 1:17 a.m. on the night in question. The car stopped near the dumpsters for about 2 minutes before exiting. This crucial piece of evidence directly contradicted Simon's initial story about her whereabouts that night. Cell phone data extracted from Simon's device corroborated the surveillance footage. Her phone's location data showed movement to Azalea Mobile Home Park and back to Buckhalter Road between 1:13 a.m. and 1:26 a.m. This timeline perfectly aligns with the theory that Simon drove to the mobile home park to dispose of Quentin's body. But perhaps the most damning evidence came from Simon's own words. In her initial statements to police, she claimed she put Quentin to bed at 10:30 p.m. and woke up at 9 o'clock a.m. to find him missing. However, when confronted with evidence contradicting this story, her narrative began to shift. Simon then introduced a new element to her story, claiming she had left the house to obtain Oragel from a friend. Yet this too was debunked when her former co-worker testified that no such meeting had occurred. Text messages and search history from Simon's phone revealed a troubling state of mind in the days leading up to Quentin's disappearance. She had searched online about mothers feeling resentment towards their children and sent messages expressing frustration with her relationship and her children. As detectives pie. As the trial unfolds, we're witnessing a complex legal battle that's keeping everyone on the edge of their seats. Leilani Simon faces a staggering 19 charges, including murder, concealing a death, falsely reporting a crime, and 14 counts of lying to investigators. The prosecution's case hinges on a trail of evidence they claim points directly to Simon's guilt. The state's attorneys have presented a timeline of events, supported by cell phone data and surveillance footage, that they argue shows Simon disposing of Quentin's body in the early hours of October 5th. They've also brought forward witnesses who paint a disturbing picture of Simon's relationship with her son. On the other hand, Simon's defense team is fighting tooth and nail to keep certain evidence out of court, particularly interviews Simon gave to police and the FBI in the days following Quentin's disappearance. They argue that these statements were obtained improperly and shouldn't be admissible. The defense has also challenged the reliability of cell phone data and questioned the motives of some witnesses. They're pushing hard on the lack of physical evidence directly linking Simon to Quentin's death, emphasizing that the prosecution can't definitively say how the child died. As the trial progresses, both sides continue to present their cases, leaving the jury with the monumental task of piecing together the truth from a complex web of testimony and evidence. Now let's dive into the witness testimonies that have shocked the courtroom and revealed disturbing details about Leilani Simon's behavior towards her son, Quentin. Talia McCarta, a teenage babysitter, provided some of the most damning testimony. Michelle McCarta, who had been babysitting Simon's children since 2021, painted a grim picture of Simon as a mother. McCarta recalled how Simon would feed her older son first, leaving Quentin to whine and fuss before eventually feeding him. She described Simon as crappy, noting that she clearly favored her older son over Quentin. Even more troubling was the testimony of Melanie Bowling, a former neighbor. She described witnessing Simon push Quentin into a pool before he had floaties on, and on another occasion, saw Simon backhand the toddler across the face with enough force to knock him off his feet. Bowling claimed that Simon openly resented Quentin, verbally abused him, and had even expressed wishes that she had aborted him. In a bizarre twist, Bowling also claimed to have communicated with Quentin's ghost, alleging that the toddler told her, "Mama hurt him." Paul Simon, the defendant's brother, offered a different perspective. He described Quentin as an angel who was playful and cooperative. However, he also noted that Danny Youngkin, Simon's boyfriend, often complained about having to take care of the kids. They suggest a pattern of neglect and abuse that went beyond mere favoritism or poor parenting. These testimonies paint a deeply troubling picture of the environment Quentin was living in. The stark contrast between how different witnesses perceived Quentin's treatment adds layers of complexity to this already heart-wrenching case. The outcome of this trial could have far-reaching implications for how similar cases are handled in the future. The Quentin Simon case has sent shockwaves through the community, leaving many to grapple with the unthinkable. How could a mother allegedly harm her own child? This tragedy has exposed deep-rooted issues within our society and justice system. It raises critical questions about child welfare and protection. Were there warning signs that were missed? Could more have been done to safeguard Quentin? The case highlights the urgent need for better systems to identify and support at-risk families before tragedy strikes. Moreover, it underscores the challenges faced by law enforcement in child disappearance cases. The initial confusion and changing narratives demonstrate the complexity of these investigations. It prompts us to consider how we can improve our response to missing children reports and ensure swift, effective action. Lastly, this case forces us to confront the devastating impact of substance abuse on families. It serves as a stark reminder of the need for accessible addiction treatment and support services. Perhaps with better resources and intervention, such heartbreaking events could be prevented in the future. And that brings us to the end of today's chilling episode. The Quentin Simon case leaves us with many questions about justice, family, and the unthinkable. Could this tragedy have been prevented? What do you think about the evidence presented? We'd love to hear your thoughts. If you're as fascinated by true crime as we are, don't forget to check out the link in our description for a curated selection of true crime books that dive even deeper into cases like this one. Remember to subscribe for more daily doses of real crime stories. Until next time, stay safe and stay curious. Power, Pleasure, and Pain. A study of abuse through time. This book provides a detailed examination of how sexual violence and power dynamics have manifested across different historical periods, from ancient civilizations to the modern era. It explores how figures in positions of power used their influence to manipulate and exploit others, showing that the patterns of abuse we see today have deep historical roots. Many people struggle to grasp why abuse of power, particularly sexual violence, persists in modern society. By connecting historical events with contemporary cases, the book offers crucial insights into why such behaviors remain prevalent. The book analyzes infamous cases such as those of Harvey Weinstein, R. Kelly, and Dominique Pellicotte, drawing parallels between them and historical figures. This section highlights how the systemic abuse seen in recent times is not a new phenomenon, but part of an ongoing cultural issue. Through the lens of these modern examples, readers will gain a better understanding of how institutions, wealth, and power have historically shielded perpetrators from justice, contributing to their ability to continue harming others. The book explores the philosophy of libertarianism, particularly through the works of Marquis de Sade, to explain the disturbing ways in which pleasure, power, and cruelty have been intertwined. This provides readers with a deeper philosophical context to interpret modern-day scandals. Unlike other studies that focus solely on historical or contemporary cases, this book uniquely blends both, offering a full spectrum of how abuse is tied to power dynamics. It stands out by making philosophical connections that help readers understand the deeper societal issues at play.